graduating and going off to the state school, Florida State University, I didn't even start out as an engineer. I started out as a business major. I was thinking about, again, the shoulder pads and firing people. So, two things that really changed my perspective on being an engineering major in undergrad. One was a challenge for my parents. I always say this in my lectures, but basically my parents said that if I changed to engineering and I got good grades, they would get me a car. And at the time when you're 16 or 17 and you want your car and that sort of thing, those things are very important to you. I didn't really know what I wanted to do anyway, so a gentle nudge or a challenge from my parents actually made me change my major to engineering. But then once I got into engineering, I remembered how good I was at it. Like I was great. Math and science classes, I was getting A's. I wasn't a particularly good student. I always say I was a B-ish student in high school, so I took AP classes to make sure that my GPA stayed at a 4.0, but I got mostly B's, some A's, some C's. But I was really good at math and science, I learned, when I put my mind to it. And so the motivation was the car, and I was going to classes, and I was getting really good grades. And the other thing that really helped me was there was a lot of women in my basic science and math classes that I could actually connect with. So this is one of my pictures. I'm in a sorority, and of my pledge class, we had 15 people, and 4 of them were engineers. So that really helped. A couple of people were older than me, and a couple of people were in my same class, and so we really kind of formed a bond. I also saw that it was good to form a bond in undergraduate because a lot of women do try to drop out of engineering because they, it takes up too much time or they don't find a support system. So I have to say that having like-minded women was the glue that held me together. So I did a really good job. It came easy. And another thing, I was in Navy Reserve Officers Training Course. Anybody know ROTC, right? You've heard of it? Shake your head. A little bit? Okay, I saw a little bit of shake. Okay. Basically, it's a training course that teaches you, what it's like to be in the military. Well, in one of these training courses, I had a chance to go underway on a submarine. Submarines are nuclear powered, and they also carry nuclear missiles. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was, under the water, completely submerged in a ship surrounded by nuclear engineering and nuclear science. And so when I got out of undergrad, I decided that I wanted to learn more about nuclear engineering. And this was the only way, this chance encounter by going on essentially a field trip and seeing a nuclear submarine. But when I saw it, I just was so intrigued that I wanted to know more about it. And I knew it also had national security implications. So it was kind of that the science was interesting, and I thought, ooh, maybe I could be a spy. So it's those little things that, kind of pique your interest. Like, I'll be like G.I. Jane. I guess that movie is too old for you guys, but or Nikita or Dark Angel or whatever. So I decided that I was going to go to grad school and learn more about this nuclear engineering thing that I thought was so interesting. I didn't really know how to get into grad school. I just tried. I just went and applied, and I got accepted at the University of Illinois, which is a really good grad school. Everybody's heard of U of I, right? Oh, okay, great. We're on the right track. So I went to U of I, and I was completely overwhelmed by U of I. It's a great school, tops in engineering, and I just thought, what am I doing here? And this is some of the stuff that I did, some of the research that I did for my master's degree. This is actually like a mock-up, a schematic or blueprint of a nuclear reactor. And this is actually the same nuclear reactor that I made in a computer program. And you run this computer program, it can tell you different information about the reactor without you having to actually run the reactor. And I did that. I was as amazed as anybody else. I didn't even know I could do that. And that just goes to show you, you start step by step. You learn the basics, and then you build up and you learn more skills, and you put them together into something sort of awesome that you can create. So, despite my success at U of I and creating awesome codes and calculations that could do really good things, I grew a little bit unsure of myself. So I was far away from home. I didn't have a lot of family. And sometimes, as I said, some women do want to quit engineering because it can be tough. Sometimes you're surrounded by a lot of guys who, you have to argue to, find your place and argue your point even though you might know you're right. And I got kind of tired of that. And I was like, you know what? You know what I want to do? I want to go try something else, something that's not engineering. Maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I'm not engineering type. So me and my infinite. And I have another song for you guys, of course. This one you guys are probably a little bit older, but some of the adults might know the song. So I'll let it start playing. It's a rock song. This girl's rock, of course. So I decided that I was going to try modeling. So some of the adults might know that one for Clueless, which is another one of my favorite movies. I don't know, has any of the kids seen that one, Clueless? You're like, what is that? Yes, okay. Put that on your Netflix list, Clueless. So I decided that, remember I said I either wanted to be a business person or I wanted to be a model. So I decided to go try this modeling thing. Engineering, it's not really for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. Maybe I could do modeling. So I actually found some success in modeling, as you can see by these pictures, which I tried. This one is kind of embarrassing. This is a Kohl's ad that I was in. This was for a magazine, and I can't even remember what those are for, but these are some of my greatest hits, I guess, as far as modeling pictures. And I mean, I got to travel a lot. I worked mostly in the Chicago area. I started doing this while I was in grad school. And when grad school got to be a bit tough, I just decided to do this full time. So I was with Ford Models for about 4 or 5 years. But what I realized after I started getting into it, and I actually tried to do it full time and left school for a little while, that there are a lot of drawbacks in modeling. Like, it seems super awesome, like, oh, I get to stand in front of the camera and take pretty pictures. But there's also some drawbacks. So let me share some of those drawbacks with you. The first one, strict weight management, meaning no dessert ever, which is never good. Yeah. Uncertainty of work, so sometimes you get jobs, sometimes you don't. A lot of times you don't. I probably went on 10 casting calls or for every job that I got. You're never allowed an opinion. You're paid to stand there and do this or this, depending on what they want. Basically stand there and pose. You're not allowed to say, hey, how about this? No, that's not your job. Always moving from city to city. That was the one that I thought would be really awesome, but it wasn't. I spent maybe about 4 months in South Africa while I was modeling in Cape Town. But again, once you go to another city, you don't have a support system, so it can be a little bit tough. Not the best company to keep. I don't want to stereotype, but I would say models aren't the brightest bulbs in the bunch. You know, the reason that their business is this, you know, probably because they couldn't make it that well in other arenas. And the retirement age for models is 30. So, and that's like a good retirement age. Like, you might get kicked out before then. You know, most models are like 17, and you know, I was starting in at the age of 21, and I was considered, you know, a senior person in modeling. So I realized that modeling, while it is fun, it's not where I really wanted to be. It was kind of an escape from engineering because I felt like it was maybe too tough, or I was not getting what I wanted out of it. But when I started looking at the actual good things about engineering, it was everything that I wanted in a job. First of all, there's new and challenging work. There's always some cutting edge problem that you're working on in engineering, especially in research. There's always opportunities to get a research or a patent or a technique named after you. You know, if you figure out, if you're a doctor and you figure out how to do some technique in surgery or something like that, it'll be called your last name technique. So I could have the Taylor technique, you know. I could have patents, I could have journal articles. I do have journal articles and research and book chapters and all that kind of stuff, all bearing my name. So things that go forward into the future. That was pretty cool to me. It's also important to society. You know, everything that you do and the way you get around is all